J.J. Joe, Baylor Radio Color Analyst, joins us on Tuesdays just after 5 o'clock. We always appreciate his time. J.J., thanks for your time. Did you see the offense maybe loosen up a little bit and maybe get a little bit more fluid in the second half?
Thanks for having me, Dave. Yeah, I think they did a good job of kind of finding themselves a little bit, at least having a little success. And I think that was aided by the fact that, of course, we all saw it. Richard Reese really got going and, I guess, ran the way we would like for the Baylor runners to run. So, we did a little play action, got Blake started early, then we started running the ball, and it kind of fell together. But, Texas State is much improved, but I still, they were overmatched. I think if they played their best game, we'd still beat them a couple, 2 or 3. So it was a good warm up, I think you could say, for what they're going to see on Saturday, which is going to be a really tough Iowa State defense.
JJ, what would you do to get these wide receivers kind of more locked in and ready to go?
Yeah, that's a good one. I just think when we talked before the season, I said, hey, they're on the clock. And there's really not much you can do outside of, I think what Coach Baker, the wide receiver coach, has started to do, and I know the coaches are doing, is give them reps and hope someone steps up. They're playing a lot of different guys. They played, Monterey's been out, but they played Seth, they played Hal, they played Armani, they played, I'm missing some guys. I mean, they played a lot of them. But really no one has stepped up to the point where Blake feels real comfortable kind of putting the ball at risk around them. So really all you can do, man, is just hope that Monterey comes back this week healthy, because I think he adds an element that we're missing. And then see if, we're getting Ben back, and hopefully someone can kind of come into that third, fourth role. But we really need it to happen.
JJ, what did you see from Blake Shapen on Saturday that was an improvement, or more of the same, more of what needs correcting? What was your kind of synopsis on his play Saturday?
Yeah, he was much more, I think, under control, kind of knew what was coming for the most part, had a good idea how Texas State was going to defend him. He got the ball out. He had one where he held it, but that was 4th and I believe 5. And he forced it a little bit, and I'm not concerned about that with Blake, because he takes really good care of the ball. He got it out. He was crisp, and that was despite missing Ben Sims. So I think the challenge for Blake is, I think I keep losing track. I think that was his 5th or 6th start, is that he has to be prepared on adjusting in game. You go through a week of preparation. You have a good idea what the tendencies are, what you're going to see on this down and distance against this formation. And then in the middle of the game, stuff changes, and coaches talking to you on the headset or the phone. Hey, we're going to do this instead of doing that. We're going to do that. They're taking this way, so we're going to do this. And that's the part, that's the adjustment part quarterbacks have to get used to, is that in-game adjustment. And I have to be able to get off playing a little bit. And I think that's where he's still developing, and it just takes a little time.
Are you worried about whether they can take the top off of defense?
Smoke, I like the deep ball. That's all we threw, right? We threw 12 times a game. They're all deep. So yeah, I felt like, we lost Monterey and BYU, and I think they just got to the point where they were attacking us and they weren't worried about anybody running by them. We kind of had a couple shots, I think, we missed or just didn't connect. But I think we really need Monterey in, because I think defenses say, hey, this guy can run, so we have to soften up or double or whatever. And everything is just like pulling teeth, man. And even with the experience of this offensive line and the grit they have, you just got to think about last year. I mean, between Taekwon and Aaron, and then of course don't forget the big games on the ground. I mean, it just seemed like every game Abram Smith broke off a 40-yard run. You got to have those in games, and that's how you go from, hey, maybe 20 points to 28. And that's what we're missing. And I sure hope Monterey's in the game and Richard Reese keeps running how he's running.
Do you think we'll see more of Squirrel this week in spite of some of his struggles last week?
Oh, yeah. I think you have to see Squirrel. I think the pecking order, you hate to see him put it on the ground, and he was kind of unsure on that kickoff return, but Squirrel really isn't a fumbler. I know he hadn't played in a while, but I remember when he was a young player playing, when he came in against Iowa State. When was that? In 1920. It's been forever. But I think it's just one of those things, and they're going to need him because Squirrel has, if I had to kind of put a tag on each one of them, to me, Richard Reese is kind of like, the talent, the speed. He's just kind of, he sees it, boom, he just goes. To me, Squirrel he's the guy that feels it. To me, Squirrel doesn't even have to see the hole. He just feels the hole, and he knows where to go, and he's that guy. And to me, Quaylen and Tay are going to be the short yardage kind of, hey, let's get the tough yards. Let's change the pace. So I think they'll have to use Squirrel. Richard will probably, I bet you, start, and they'll feel from then on out. But I think Squirrel is going to be a very important part of this offense on the go forward.
JJ, what did you see defensively? Obviously, it seemed like at times Texas State was able to kind of hit the belly of the defense, found some soft spots, but they eventually would bristle up, inside the 30 and get stops, whether that be a blocked field goal or turnover on downs. But clearly they're going to play much better offense starting this week. Just your thoughts on the defensive performance.
Yeah, defensively, I think we're, it's hard for me to say because I have high expectations for these guys too. We expect with however many returning starters for these guys to just be dominant, right? And even when you're playing a Texas State or if you're playing whatever division team, the way teams spread you out a little bit and the passing concepts, teams are going to move the ball on you. I mean, it felt like BYU had 450. They had like 368, 66 or something. And that was with OT yards. Texas State had, 270, 280. And you think about it in the course of a game, that really isn't much. Now, they moved the ball. And if you ask me what we have to improve, and I'm writing this for you guys today, is that, our pass defense. The first way you can mute a rush is allow guys to throw over the top, or you can't play really good zone defense. I think we struggle when we don't bring pressure and man up. If we play zone, we struggle a little bit. We're a little bit more porous. And in this week, Iowa State, this is a different team. They want to throw that ball around. So we're going to see a lot of Hutchinson and all these different receivers.
They almost hit that deep ball to Presley. That was the one that would have been great just to kind of, if anything, just breathe. It would have been nice to get that done. Dave Aranda in the postgame mentioned, and I think you mentioned this to Ricky before halftime, but he mentioned that the team had been playing or there was an almost uptight, worried about expectations, worried about maybe what they were doing individually, not so much as a team. And maybe the ghost of last year's team. Did you sense that as well?
I did. I don't know if they asked that before, but I asked that question when he was on with me.
Okay.
I asked him, hey, man, are you guys internally, do you feel like you're fighting the ghost of the 21 squad? He kind of answered, like you said, in the affirmative. Like, I think the weight of the expectations is not like, I don't think this team at all is concerned about the pressure. I think that, that's not it. It's just they expect to be playing at a level and they know they're not there yet and they're measuring themselves. And it's frustrating that, hey, we played like this last year and we're not even close, but we have all these great guys back. And the challenges each year, man, is so organic and it's its own living entity, is that even if you have a lot of the same guys, it's not the same squad. And it's just going to you have to go through the same process. That team went through the process of winning close against Iowa State, battling this, figuring this out. They had guys make plays in different difficult environments. And on top of this now, guys, don't forget this. Last year's team had all the big games at home outside of, say, probably Kansas State. That's a huge difference. That's why I said this team, I could see them being just as good, but maybe 10-2, 9-3. I'm not calling that. That's not what I want. But, when you have to go to BYU and then you have to go to Lubbock. I hate Lubbock. That's why I keep using Lubbock. When you have to go to Austin, when you have to go to Norman, I mean, those are huge. Those are big-time games and big-time environments.
I said this before Brigham Young, that game to me kind of sets up a chance for them to have that 9 or 10 win season. But now, win or lose that game, to me, is this a game, JJ, because of what you just said? If you win it, you still have a chance at that? If you don't, you're going to be scratching and clawing to get the 7 wins or so?
Yeah, I would be surprised if this team scraped to get to 7-8 wins. They just have too much talent, too much, I think, DNA of knowing how to win games. Because if we think back even to the BYU game, and I said this last week, that team was resilient. They kept coming back. If you think about it, they fought back. And I think at the end, we just didn't lead. And that was in spite of all the mental errors and mistakes and penalties. So I think this week, this is huge. I think for this team, and Coach Aranda knows it, if you win this one, because you got to think, after this one comes Oklahoma State. A top 10 team comes into your stadium.
Yep.
And then you're going to have to, after that, you have to go, even though they lost the kid, you got to go to Morgantown. Nobody at night. Everybody knows what that place is like. So I really believe that if Baylor can win this game, I think it gives you, for lack of a better term, I keep using it, it's called the mojo, I call it. It's that feeling like, okay, not that Iowa State is ranked, but you're going on the road, and what Coach wants to see is that they've learned. Did you learn from BYU? If you go and you're successful and win, the coach doesn't have to tell you learned. You know you learned, and then you're ready. And then I think you go on that run.
JJ, great stuff. JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback and Baylor Radio color analyst with us. Great to have the input each Tuesday, just after 5 o'clock with us, Sic'Em 365 Radio. Game is 11 o'clock, Ames, Iowa, Saturday. We'll have our pregame show on KWTX TV and also right here on 365 Sports on Saturday at 9 o'clock, and much more, of course, throughout the rest of the week. When we come back,